Hi there and welcome back. So the last few days there have been some problems with Arena. I don't really know what's been going on, but for some reason whenever I logged in there was either an update I needed to do or the cards didn't really work the way they were supposed to, had a few errors. But I did have an opportunity to build some decks and to use all the wild cards that I had been collecting. So as you can see, we have no more uncommons, no more rares, and of the 7 mythics we had, there are only 3 left. But that was enough to start building some decks. And first of all, I was looking at some cards previous games, and I said that I wanted to look into bats. Well, I have made myself a bat deck. And I'm calling it Release the Bats because, yeah, it made me think of a comedian named Fluffy who once had a show in India about Release the Bats and stuff like that. So I just thought it was a nice one. So what is the deck about? Right now, I don't have enough wild cards to put in more of this enchantment, but I really do want it in the future. Case of the Uneaten Feast. So basically, whenever a creature you control enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. If it's solved, uh, you get to the next step, which means you gain 5 or more life this turn, then it's solved. Once it's solved, you can sacrifice it, and a creature cards in your graveyard gain. You may cast this card from your graveyard until end of turn. So this is a really nice card to play, especially the life gain for 1 mana is very interesting because this deck is built around gaining life as much as possible. I am playing 4 Ruin Lurkers. I had 3, so I had to put 1 wild card in here, but it's a 1/1 flying lifelinker. At the beginning of your end step, if you descended this turn scry 1, the scry will help us with the consistency, so I thought this was a really good addition at 1 drop. Then we have a lot of 2 drops. Like I said in one of the previous videos, I'm gonna try and go a little bit more low to the ground, keep the mana low, and just go for some speed. And that's basically what this deck is built around. First off is Essence Channeler, a 2/1, but it has a lot of abilities and it's really interesting. First, if you've lost life this turn, it gains flying and vigilance. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on Essence Channeler. This is not limited to 1 life gain. So basically, if, for example, you gain 3 life from 3 different sources, then it would trigger 3 times. Then, when it dies, put its counters onto another target creature you control. So even if it does die, the counters that it's already collected can be moved to a different creature. So this is a really interesting creature to play. So as you can see, it's a rare, and I had to put 4 wild cards into this one because I didn't have anyone when I opened the packs. Then we have Life Creed Duo. This one is just a 1/2 flying creature. It may not look like much, and all in all, it's not, but it does have the ability to gain 1 life when it enters the battlefield. It is a flyer, and it's a bat. You'll see later on why a bat matters. Then we have Deep Cavern Bat, a card that we've been seeing quite a lot ever since it came out. It takes care of a card in your opponent's hand. It's a flyer, and it's a lifelinker, all for 2 mana. This really is a good, decent card, and considering the theme that we're going to play, this really is a huge card in this deck. Then, probably one of the most painful cards in the deck is Starscape Cleric. It's a 2/1 flyer. It cannot block. It's a little bit of a disadvantage, but whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. And again, it's not limited to 1 trigger. It's every life gain trigger will trigger this one as well. And with Offspring, you get a 1/1 flyer that does the same thing. This can add up insanely fast. We saw it in one of the games that we played against it, and it really is an incredible card to play. It is 5 mana to get them both out, but even if you don't play the Offspring, it's still a powerhouse, especially for an uncommon. Then, Malia Benavides Acquire. I would like to play 4 of her. I just don't have the wild cards for it. And you'll see in a later deck where I invested most of the wild cards because that was the deck I built first. But again, this card is going to grow so fast. This is a life gain deck. Pretty much every creature in here will give you some kind of life gain. And, well, this one is just going to grow insanely fast. Then I put in 2 Ella's Ilkor. We have a lot of creatures entering the battlefield. We have a lot of creatures dying because they are pretty weak. But this will trigger in both cases. Your opponents will lose life and you will gain life, and it will help them drain. It's basically a card that does something similar to Starscape Cleric, except this is triggered by creatures dying, whereas this is triggered by life gain. But again, if you have both on the field, the creature enters, you gain 1 life, your opponent loses life. So that's a really nice synergy. Then I have 2 Invasion of Nukapina. We are playing a lot of low-cost creatures. There are opportunities for us to actually sacrifice one of those creatures. If we do, we have a card that we can use to remove an artifact or a creature an opponent controls. I'm testing it. Not really sure if I'm going to keep it in. Once I have the wild cards for a case of the Uneaten Feast, then I'm definitely going to switch it with that. But the Holy Frazzle Cannon, whenever a equipped creature attacks, put a 1/1 counter on that creature and each other creature you control that shares a creature type with it. Now, most of our creatures are bats. Rune Lurker is a bat. Essence Channeler is a bat. Life Creed Duo is a bat. Deep Cavern bat. Starscape Cleric. They're all bats. Only Amalia and Ella's Ilkor are not bats. We might in the future take them out and change them up with something else. But this really is an interesting card, I think, to play in a bat themed deck. Then we have Dewdrop Cure. Most of our creatures are mana cost 2 or less. This one can bring back 2 creatures easily without any drawback for 2 mana or less. And we could give a gift to our opponent, and then if they were to draw a card thanks to us, we would get 3 creatures back. So this is a really interesting card, I think, considering the fact that we have a lot of low cost creatures and there's a good chance that they're going to die along the way. We can bring them back, and that includes Amalia and Elas. So this is a really interesting card to play. I've tested it once or twice, and so far it's been really productive. Also because we do sometimes have the invasion of Nukapina. We sacrifice a creature, we bring it back, and one of the cards we would love to do that is Life Creed's Duo, because it gains you 1 life once it comes into play. If the Deep Cavern Bat was destroyed, well, you can bring it back. So those are some interesting synergies. Then we have Gumdrop Poisoner. Only have 2 of them at the moment. Definitely also a card I would be considering in the future to add in a few more. And I think this card is really interesting. We have a lot of life gain going for us, which means whenever it enters the battlefield, target creature gets -X, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. There's a pretty decent chance that's going to be 3, 4, 5 life. So that's pretty decent. Then a card that I was looking at and I actually really like, not only because of what it does, but also the art is pretty nice. It's a 3/3 flying vigilance, and it's one of the only 3-drop in this deck. And the fun thing is, whenever a bat you control attack, you gain 1 life. So every bat attacking, whether it has lifelink or not, gains you 1 life. In synergies with all the other cards, that can go extremely fast. Whenever it enters or attacks, you may pay 2 and 2 life. When you do, return target non-land permanent card with mana 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Again, this is a card you can use to bring back one of your killed creatures and just bring it back to the battlefield. And again, you have a lot of cards that will trigger due to that. Last but not least is Virtue of Persistence. I have invested 2 Mythic Wild cards into this one because we do need a little bit of removal. And again, if for some reason the game really drags on, having this one on the field, bringing back all those small creatures, it could get you over the top at the end of the day. So that's the first deck. Except for that, we just have some basic mana in here. I invested in a Cavern of Souls, so now I have 2 Cavern of Souls available. Considering that we are playing mostly bats, it's a pretty easy choice to make. So that's one of the mythics going into that one as well. Then, another deck we built was Swimming with Otters. Now, Swimming with Otters, we didn't use any rare or mythic wild cards. In this one, we only used a few uncommons we had left over because I think the otter theme is really interesting and really fun, but I don't have enough cards to really make this really competitive. I'm still lacking a few, but in the future, I'll probably invest some wild cards in this deck as well. First off, we have Stormcatch Mentor, a 1/1 haste prowess. Instant and sorcery spells you cost 1 less to cast. This is a really decent card. This is really a decent card. I've tested it a few times now, and I really enjoy playing this one. Then another card we put in here, we have here Otterball Antics, another uncommon that came out in the new set. You can create a 1/1 blue and red otter creature token with prowess. If you cast it from anywhere else, anywhere except from your hand, that creature also gets a 1/1 counter. And this card has flashback, so there's a good chance you can get 2 otters out of it, one of them being a 2/2, both of them having prowess. Again, prowess is a theme in this deck. As you can see with a mentor here as well, also a prowess creature. Then we have some others. Elusive Otter. I have not put a green source into this deck yet. Right now, I don't have enough cards to really go full all out with this deck. So right now, I'm only playing it for the prowess creature as a 1-drop. But in the future, I am definitely considering maybe putting in a little bit of splashed green so that we can use the sorcery ability as well, because it would trigger the prowess of the other otters. But mostly I'm seeing with the theme of just having otters with prowess. Then, staying with the others, we have this one, Storm Chaser's Talent. Right now, only have 1. Like I said, I haven't been able to invest any rare wild cards in this one yet, but definitely a card we're gonna increase the number on this deck. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 blue and red otter creature token. Again, a prowess creature. The first ability is definitely one that's going to be useful. The second one is one I really like as well. When this class becomes level 2, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Basically, you recycle one of your instants and sorceries, which would then trigger. Once you play that card, it would then trigger one of the prowess abilities in your creatures, and that can pump them pretty fast and pretty hard. If you do get to the late games and you get to level 3, creating more creatures is always a nice option. So this is a card I'm definitely going to invest in the future if this deck works out the way I want it to work out. Then we have Coruscation Mage. That's a pretty difficult name, but alright. It's a 2/2 for 2 mana, but it has the Offspring ability, which is a new ability for Bloomburrow, and we saw it as well in our Bat deck. It's a 2/2 creature, but it has an ability. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. This does not have prowess, and I was doubting whether or not to put this one in, but we are playing a lot of instants and sorceries, so I really think this card does have a place in the deck, especially with the Offspring ability. It might not have prowess, but every instant you play will then deal 2 damage. It's an otter, so I really think this has a place in the deck. Then we have Valley Floodcaller. Right now I only have one of them. Probably a card I'm going to be investing in as well. You may cast non-creature spells as though they had flash. Right now everything is instant speed. Nevertheless, it's definitely an interesting card to play because with the Storm Chaser's talent, we could suddenly play that one for instant speed. Elusive Otter that we saw before was a sorcery. If we put in the green like I'm intending to do at some point, this one could also be cast because it's a sorcery, not a creature. So those cards, this one as well, Other Ball Antics, can also suddenly become instant speed. So I really think there's a good place for it in the deck. So I'm definitely looking to invest in maybe one or two more. Sorry. Also, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, birds, frogs, otters, and rats you control get +1/+1 until end of turn, and you can untap them. Basically, you just gave all your creatures an extra prowess, and you get to untap them every single time. That's really powerful because, like I said before, this one doesn't have prowess. Well, combine it with the Floodcaller, and suddenly you have a prowess with an untap ability. That's really, really good in this deck. That leaves us with one more creature. Storm Splitter. Not really sure about this one yet. We have two of it. I'm putting it in there. It's a little bit high mana. It's already 4 mana. But whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a token that's a copy of Storm Splitter, and you can exile it at the beginning of the next end step. I don't know. Under the right circumstances, I think this can be an insanely strong card. But I'm not really sure this deck is up to it yet. So right now we already have 2 of them. We don't have all the cards we want, so I had a slot for it. I put it in, and I've decided just to test it out. We'll see what goes, how it goes. Then we have Pearl of Wisdom. This is an interesting card. We do control a lot of otters because basically all our creatures are otters. So for 2 mana, we get to draw 2 cards. It's also a non-creature spell, meaning it triggers all our prowess abilities. Then we have a little bit of burn. Lightning Strike deals 3 damage to any target. Together with the prowess triggers, this can pump our creatures and it can do some serious damage to your opponent. Torch the Tower is a card that I have been looking at, and I decided to put into this deck. We are probably not going to bargain, or at least not often, but we can still just cast it for 2. It's basically a shock, but I think it's a little bit better than a shock as it would exile your opponent's card instead. Talking about shock, I put 2 in there because I do have 2 spots at the moment, and the last card is Felonious Rage. There are a lot of cards out there that could be interesting to use. I've chosen this one, first of all, because it's a +2/+0, and you give haste until the end of turn. But also, when it dies in that turn, you get a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. So you do get an extra token, you do get the haste, and 2/0 with the prowess abilities can add up extremely fast. So this is a deck that's pretty much low to the ground as well. Tested it a few times. I'm happy with the basics of it, but we do need a few more wild cards to really finish it off. That brings us to the first really main deck that I built. It's the Mighty Mouse. Why do I call it the Mighty Mouse? Because I am playing mice. Lots and lots of mice. And this is a really fun deck. I'm extremely surprised how well this performs. I knew that mono red aggro worked really, really well. I found this one to be more consistent than the slick shot decks I've been up against so far for the past months. We're starting with Cheeky Mouse. Has an adventure, great for us because it's an adventure that will target a creature of ours. Will get +1/+1 until end of turn, and it cannot be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. This is really interesting. You'll see later on when we play a few games that we have a lot of creatures that will go very aggressive in power level. They can go to 4, 5, 6, and if they can't be blocked because of 1 white mana, that's really insane. Secondly, it is a 2/1 mouse for 1 mana as well, so you basically get 2 spells for very little mana. This is one card that's really, really important. I invested 4 uncommon wild cards into this one because it really does make a difference in this deck, this card. Then we have Flowerfoot Swordmaster, another card where I invested 4 uncommon wild cards. Again, an offspring card. For 3 mana in total, you get Flowerfoot Swordmaster and you get a token of it. One is a 1/2, the other one is a 1/1, but it's not so much their power and toughness, it's more their ability. Whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability you control for the first time, each turn you control get mice you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Have 2 of these on the field and your mice get +2/+0 until the end of turn. This is a really good card. I was extremely impressed how well this card performed because you're going to see we have a lot of cards that can trigger this particular card. And that brings us to the next mouse, Heartfire Hero. This mouse is insane. This is an incredible card. I have already seen this card go completely bonkers. I pumped it to a 20/20 double striker with trample in this deck, just to give you an idea how bonkers this card can go. And the best part of it is my opponent couldn't kill it because he would die to this card anyway because he couldn't exile it. So why does that matter? Well, first of all, whenever it becomes the target of a spell or ability you control for the first time each turn, put a 1/1 counter on it. It's only 1 counter per turn, but that's fine. It's not too bad. But when Heartfire Hero dies, it deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. We've seen that with a Goblin in the past. Well, this one is a step up because you can target it with a card, like for example, one of the cards I'm going to show you in a few minutes. You can target it with a card. It becomes a 2/2 on its own. It will get the buff from the card you used to target it with. And if it dies, you get to deal all its power and damage to each opponent. So this is a card that works really well in this format, I think. And if you can get this consistently in Commander, it would work really well as well. Let's stick with the mice for a minute, and then let's look at the other cards later. Emberheart Challenger is a card where I invested some of the wild cards. I think I had 2 of them when I finished opening the packs. I still needed 2 because this card is also really, really good. It is a 2/2 haste with prowess. So basically, it gets +1/+1 for every non-creature spell we cast. That's not the worst about this. That's not what your opponents are going to hate most. Because whenever it becomes the target of a spell or ability you control for the first time each turn, exile the top card of your library until end of turn. You may play that card. This is massive consistency for your deck. It's basically an additional card. It is a creature that pumps itself. It has haste, and it only costs you 2 mana. It's a mouse, so yeah. This is really a Mighty Mouse. Then we have Manifold Mouse. Right now I am playing only 3 of them. I might consider putting in 1 wild card to get a 4th. I'm not really sure yet. It's a 1/2 with Offspring 2, so basically for 4 mana I could have 2 of them on the field. But at the beginning of combat on your turn, target mouse you control gains of your choice of Double Strike or Trample until end of turn. Remember a few minutes ago I said I once had a hero mouse which was 2020? Well, 2020 Double Striker thanks to Manifold Mouse. Really impressive combination of cards here. And the fun thing about it is they actually help each other out. So these cards, they work together and they help each other out, which makes it more consistent than I've seen with the Slickshot decks, as those cards, they do help as well, but they still need an instant or sorcery to trigger them. These don't. These can trigger each other. Then another mouse is Raging Battle Mouse. It's one from Wilds of Eldraine, but in this deck really works well. First of all, because your second spell will cost you 1 colorless mana less. If you've already looked at my average mana cost, it would mean a Manifold Mouse with Offspring would cost me 3 instead of 4. Ember Heart Challenge could cost me 1 instead of 2. Those cards, mana less, is really, really nice. And the best thing is, none of them are legendary. You can have multiple copies of these cards on the field. But at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 2 or more non-land permanents that enter the battlefield under your control this turn, target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Remember I said those mice have the ability to target something or start their own triggers without playing instants and sorceries? Well, that's exactly what these cards do. This one will target a mouse. This one will target a mouse. They could, for example, target the Flowerfoot. Because it gets targeted, it pumps all the mice. This one gets targeted by either Manifold or Raging Battle Mouse. Suddenly it pumps itself. So like that, this really has a great synergy. The same with this one, Emberheart. It becomes the target of a spell or an ability, and suddenly you have a card draw. Again, Manifold, Raging Battle Mouse, one of those abilities targeting the Emberheart, and suddenly you got card draw. Basically what it does. Last mouse, but definitely not least, is a 3/3. Other mice you control get +1/+1. So we are low to the ground, very low mana cost, but this one not only gives a boost, it also gives you a very interesting equipment. Equipped creature get +1/+1 and has Vigilance, Trample, and Haste. Now suddenly we already have Trample. Manifold Mouse can now just give it Double Strike instead of Trample, and now you have a mouse with Trample and Double Strike. Also +1/+1, Vigilance, Trample, and Haste. Those are a lot of abilities for very little mana. And don't forget, equipping a creature targets a creature. So that's really interesting. That leaves us with a few cards that are not creatures. And most of them are from Bloomburrow. The only one that is not is Demonic Ruckus. Why is it in here? Enchanted creature gets +1/+1, has Menace and Trample. Again, Trample, because we really do want to get through. Menace, making it harder to block it. And if it goes into the graveyard from the battlefield, you draw a card. So you basically have some really good abilities for very little mana, and you can plot it, meaning for 1 mana, and then the next turn you can set it up to equip or enchant one of your creatures. So that makes this a really good card. I do have one more. I just don't have a slot for it right now. Then we go back to the Bloomburrow cards. Might of the Meek. Might of the Meek is really interesting. It's only a common, It's 1 mana, but target creature gains trample until end of turn. It also gets +1/+0 until end of turn if you control a mouse. Well, all of our creatures are mice, so we do get a card. Also, it gets trample and it's a targeting ability, so you trigger many of your cards as well. And like I said, we really want to get through. This trample really makes a difference in this deck. Then we have War Squeak. War Squeak, again, a common card, only 1 mana, but when it enters, target creature an opponent controls cannot block this turn. Making it harder for your opponents to block one of your creatures really makes a difference. Also, it's a +1/+1 and it has haste. Combine that with all the boosts and the nice effects you have on all your mice, and that really makes it an interesting card. The last card, yesterday and the day before, I had some trouble with this card because I couldn't play it. For some reason, there was a bug in the system that didn't allow to play it. Today, I can finally play it, and it really is great. It's a really nice card. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So you target one of your creatures, it triggers one of their abilities. Then that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. So you don't fight, you just deal damage. Imagine this card on, for example, the Heartfire Hero. Heartfire Hero would automatically have power 3 by the first time you target it. And you can imagine that Heartfire Hero will grow pretty fast, and later in the games, Rabbit Gnaw with a Heartfire Hero really hurts. So yeah, those are some really nice synergies in the deck. It's been working out really well. I don't want too many cards to come into play tapped, so I've only put in 2 Elegant Parlors. This one, Inspiring Vantage, early game, doesn't come into play tapped. Later in the game, it does come into play tapped, but considering how low our mana is, our mana curve, I'm pretty confident this doesn't bother us too much. Cavern of Souls, I put in another wild card to make sure I had 3 in this deck. I am considering putting a third one in the bats as well, but right now I haven't. But it's definitely an option. Making sure they can't be countered really helps. And having the mana fix for your creatures, considering that most of my creatures are mice, well, I just choose mouse. Demolition Field, you never know if you need to get rid of one of your opponent's annoying cards. Having 2 in there doesn't seem to hurt too bad. I can always take it out and change it. So those are the 3 decks that we are going to play with and work on. So definitely the 2 decks that I am very confident in so far is Release the Bats and Mighty Mouse. Most wild cards went into Mighty Mouse. Whatever was left went into Release the Bats, and then a few uncommons went into Swimming with Otters. So those are our 3 main decks after Bloomburrow come out. We still have our artifact deck here. Haven't really changed much in that one, but it still works pretty decently. So I'm very confident in this one as well. One card I am considering in the Mighty Mouse is Delny Streetwise. Just not sure where to put him right now. Also, I have a feeling the mice grow too fast to really trigger twice with Delny, so I'm not really sure if it's gonna work in those decks. But having said that, I am ready to play a few games, so let's go into it together and let's try some serious plays here. So, Mighty Mouse, already, like I said, I tested it a few times. We're gonna go Mighty Mouse. We already back in gold. And it's a really powerful deck to play. Risky hand to keep because we only have 1 creature, but I still want to do it. Yep. So I'm not going to play it with Offspring. There's a reason for that. I wanted the creature down early on because we have Might of the Meek. He might be able to counter us. Let's see if he does. He doesn't. I'm glad he doesn't, because that means we hit him for 3 unless he brings it back to our hand. So already we're hitting for 3 in turn 2. That's pretty decent for a tiny little mouse. Yeah, all right. Let's put this one in then. Depending on what he can do to the air, we might have some interesting here. So our Flatfoot Swordmaster can't attack or block. That's fine. I still have its ability. So let's start with Heartfire Hero. Let's see what our opponent thinks of that. He doesn't seem to mind. Then let's play this one. Let's see if he's going to do anything about that. No, he's not. Nice, nice, nice. And let's equip it as well. There we go. It's now a 5/4 Vigilance, Trample, Haste. Yeah, alright. That's fine. Like I said, this is a really powerful card because it just dealt 5 damage to your opponent when he took it out. So this is a really, really interesting card to play. It's a really powerful card to play. Yeah, let's put this one in. Yeah, let's enchant it. With the prowess, you won't be able to block. We haven't put a land into play yet. Let's just push a little bit harder. Suddenly we have a 5/5 and he can't block it. Why can he block it? He shouldn't have been able to. He shouldn't have been able to block that. He should not have been able to block that. That was weird. That must have been a bug in the system because automatically he only had 1 creature, so he wouldn't have been able to block it. So that's definitely an issue with the system here. Well then let's make sure he doesn't block it this time. Yeah, I want to play Mighty Mouse. I definitely want to play Mighty Mouse. Let's pump it a little bit more. And let's give it double strike as well. All attack. And it should be game over. So really powerful game here. As you can see, these mice really work well together. But apparently there was a bug in the system here. He shouldn't have been able to block. Unless... I know why he could block. I know. My mistake. My mistake. And I'm going to show you where my mistake was. When it enters target creature an opponent controls can't block this turn. It's an enter ability, and when you look at enter, where is it here? I think, yeah, here we go. Additional, no, that's the other one. Don't I have an additional one here? Elish. No. Let's see if I have it like this. There we go. Permanence entering. Yeah. So because it's an enter ability, it doesn't trigger, and that's why you could block. So that was my mistake. All right. That's good to know. So I made a mistake there, but still we won the game simply because the mice are that powerful. They have crazy great synergy, and basically you can make a completely bloom borrow deck that doesn't need any cards from any other set, to be honest. And yeah, it's impressive what this deck can do. Yeah, let's keep it. We have 2 heroes. We have 2 mana. Definitely a good start here. More squeak next time. If we have another mountain, I'm definitely going to play it. So, ooh, another mouse. Interesting. That's another mouse. Haven't looked at that one yet, but that's okay. I don't mind. I could have maybe played this one, but I'm thinking I'd rather keep that one. Yeah, end the turn. And next turn I can play a Heartfire hero with a cheeky house mouse. And then suddenly I have 2 of them. I'm hoping for an extra land, preferably a mountain. That would be really nice. And then I can play either Raging Battle Mouse with a War Squeak, or Bristle. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna play this one instead because Bristly Bill can get really, really painful really fast. So I think this was a better choice. We didn't get our land, but this is what I meant with the rabbit bite. With the rabbit bite gnaw. This is definitely not a card you should underestimate. Yep. Where are the mountains? They're still not here. Yeah, let's hit them hard. I really want to hit them hard here. For 7. And now he's in trouble because if it dies, it will deal 6 damage to him. So this is a really, really nice spot to be in right now. Too bad we're not drawing any land. It would have been nice just one more. But let's see what happens here. Yeah, he needs to keep blockers. Finally, a land. Let's put this one down. Yeah, let's put Heartfire, and then let's attack with a 6. Yep. I think he just lost the game here. Yes, he did. That's what I meant. Heartfire hero. He kills it, and because he kills it, he loses because it costs him 6 left. This is what I meant with the Heartfire hero. Really is an incredible card to play. A 1-drop with this kind of ability yeah, these are incredible cards, and I really am stoked with this set. Now, why were we not playing ranked? Let's go back to ranked. Last game with a Mighty Mouse, and then next time we will play the bats. So the Mighty Mouse is the deck that I really put time and wild cards into. This was the first deck I built with Bloomburrow cards, and I really focused on this deck first because I really wanted it to be my main deck at the moment. I like the concept of mice. Yeah, that's better. We only get to keep 5. I want to keep this one, and I want to keep this one. So, yeah, let's keep 5 here. Yeah, let's get rid of this one for now, and let's get rid of this one for now. It's not ideal, but it's okay. Yeah, all right. We're in a good spot. Let's choose mouse. We have Flowerfoot Swordmaster. We can't use Offspring, but that's okay. Yep. Now, let's show him the power of the mice. Gonna target the Flowerfoot. It gets a boost. We're gonna give it double strike. And we're just gonna whack him. Next turn, we have Rabbit Gnaw or one of the other cards. And I'm probably gonna play Mind of the Meek first, with the intention of hopefully drawing another land, and then I can play either War Squeak or Rabbit Gnaw. That would be really, really nice. Of course, if we do draw a third land, then it can change my strategy completely. So our advantage is Mercurial Spelldancer cannot block. That's something he really needs to keep an eye on. If we can get through every single turn, he's gonna feel it. He's gonna feel it really badly. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, Mind of the Meek, I'm gonna put it on Manifold Mouse. There we go. Let's do another mouse. Yes. Too bad it's only colorless, but let's give it double strike because he can't block anyway. And that's another 7 damage. Turn 3, and he's already at 9. So this is a really, really an impressive combination of cards here. Now he does have 2 oils on it, so let's see what he comes up with. Yeah. So yeah, okay. Flowerfoot. Yeah, let's do an offspring here. Autoplay. Mm-hmm. And that's really, really nice now. So basically we have 2 Flowerfoots now. We can give one of them double strike. We have 1 War Squeak we could definitely play. So he is in trouble here. He does have a Jace. He does have 2 other counters again. Yeah. Alright. let's see what we can do. We do have a few mice in there that provide us with... Alright, I'm done with his oil counter stuff. Let's get rid of that, that's for sure. Yeah, let's just give him double strike. Let's be done with it. So he's definitely putting the pressure on here. Our creatures can't do much. I'm really hoping to get one of our haste creatures. That would be really nice. Because it appears that our Cavern of Souls did really make a difference. Yeah. That's okay. Let's plot this one. Yeah, let's just do this one here. Double strike and be done with it. So yeah, next turn we have two creatures that might untap. We might be lucky and get an attack through now. We do have Demonic Ruckus we can play. We have a War Squeak we can play. So we can target two creatures. One of them will get double strike. So, yeah, alright, I can live with that. He is definitely holding on here. Oh, are his creatures. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's do autoplay. Let's do that. Let's go to combat. And let's end the turn here. So it's another creature for him to deal with. Now he has to deal with two of them. That makes a difference. And then next turn maybe Might of the Meek with Demonic Ruckus or War Squeak. War Squeak could maybe have made a difference a few minutes ago. Not really sure. Let's see. Alright, he's tapped out. That's what we wanted. That is definitely what we wanted. Yeah, that's okay. Let's do... Yeah, let's do Might of the Meek. Let's do War Squeak. Let's do Demonic Ruckus. Let's do double strike to this one, and double strike to this one. Double strike, all attack. Let's go all in. It might have been smarter to attack him directly. Would have brought him to 1. But I am afraid of his Planeswalkers right now. He is dominating the field. He has a really nice strategy. It really works well. Yeah, you can put counters on it, and then we're stuck with that as well. I'm really hoping to get one of our haste creatures that would start to make a difference. Yep, not much we can do about that. He's keeping the game really nicely under control. Yeah. Not much we can do here. Let's end the turn. Nothing we can do about that right now. Yeah. We are in trouble here. If I don't get a creature soon, yeah, he can keep proliferating now, so we are in trouble big time. Really nice concept of deck, though. Really nice to see that. I think my biggest mistake was, in fact, not attacking him. Yeah, he's bringing the creature back to my hand. That's okay. Yeah, let's get rid of the token, of course. Yep. Really nice concept here. Really nice. Ooh. Yeah. Resolve. Four. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Double strike, and there we go. Whew. Long game, what we pulled through. Mabel for the win. Whew. That was a really tough game. Really liked that game. So much interaction from your opponent's side. He really had the board locked down. Those are the kind of games that really make Magic interesting and fun, I think. Those are the games that really challenge you, and you just have to keep on going and see where you can go. So thanks for joining me. See you next time. Next time we are going to play the Bats. I'm really looking forward to playing that deck with you guys there. Um, it's a completely different concept from the mice. So this is a more flying life gain and prick them till you basically prick them till they're dead, like a death by 1,000 cuts. There are some options that can change during the way. Before, for example, Lunar is a card that was. See if I can. If I don't have one, I think I do. Yes, Lunar Convocation. I was looking at. I think that really could work in this deck as well. Um, Yeah, why not just put one in? I don't have the wild cards to put in many of them, but let's replace one dewdrop for for lunar. Let's see what this does. We might pull it once or twice, and that's what we want. So yeah, let's put in another Cavern of Souls, and this is life gain, so this could work in our favor. Let's take out, yeah, let's take it out anyway. I'm going to take it out. It's a land that comes into play tapped. I really don't think that's going to be a good idea in this deck. So that was it for today. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your day. See you next time, and then we will release the bats. Take care. Bye bye.